Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion advised. Greetings to you all, my brothers and sisters of Warcraft, and welcome to the Unshackled Fury review of the Warcraft film. Yes, finally at last, after all these years of waiting and wondering and wishing and hoping, it has finally dropped upon us at a theater near all of us, since it is now global, international release, thousands of theaters. It's raking in the dough overseas. And I finally got a chance to get out and see it, so I will be dropping, as promised, my review on you here today. Now, before I get into the actual review of this movie, I did want to first talk about the wonderful global premiere event live stream that was provided to us on Monday the 6th. As I discussed in the last episode, there were a few events that Blizzard was having as a part of a rollout for the film, one of them being the live stream of the big event that they had down in Los Angeles for essentially the premiere, the U.S. premiere. They shut down the street there in front of Mann's Chinese Theater. It was a big event. They had a black carpet. They had celebrities. They had all kinds of stuff going on. And it was hosted by Jesse Cox and by Michelle Morrow, who are well-known personalities. And I have to say, unfortunately, I have never really been the biggest fan of Jesse Cox. I'm sure I'm in the minority on this one, but I have to tell you, and I don't really want to go too far into this because really this is meant to be a review of the film, but I just wanted to talk very briefly about the fact that Blizzard, listen, if you ever hear this, I will volunteer my services to be a black carpet, red carpet, whatever kind of host you want. I'll do it for free just so you can avoid the kind of embarrassment that we had occurring during that live stream event. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, here's a little example for you.
When it comes to, this is going to sound creepy, I apologize. It's super creepy.
Really?
Just in advance.
Okay.
You're playing a character that a lot of young boys 20 years ago were infatuated with.
Are they single?
I mean,
This is not so creepy anymore.
But what you're saying is they may have done some questionable things in front of their
questionable
PC
things
with.
may have been done with the instruction manual to Warcraft. I'm just saying.
They may have to clean up a lot of keyboards.
Yeah.
We all evolve and move forward. I don't know where the question is going.
What if some of us didn't move forward?
I'm sure there are a lot.
Thank you. I don't know. What are you asking me? Are you asking me out?
Yes. All right. Well, we're going to go over to Michelle right now, and she's going to take it from there.
Yeah. So you got to go through media training. I hate to say it, but you can't just do podcasting, streaming, whatever, and then go out there and think you're going to ask a bunch of questions, because this is the kind of shit that happens, is that you get nerds who are running amok and asking very awkward questions of very nice ladies. And yeah, we don't need that. That makes us all look very bad. And bless Paula Patton's heart for rolling with that as well as she could. But you could tell that was very clearly an awkward moment that they had to share. So otherwise, nice to see the event. Looks like they had a great turnout, some friendly faces, some old faces from Blizzard who had returned. Rob Pardo and Paul Sams being two of them. They were also executive producers, I noticed, of the movie. So it was good event for Blizzard. And so let's get into it. Let's get to the movie. So overall, I enjoyed the movie. And as somebody who has been a longtime player, this is not the story of World of Warcraft. This is the story of Warcraft. This is going back to the original RTS game. So this goes way, way back, Orcs and Humans. And in watching this movie, clearly one of the highs was the way in which the orcs were done. And the CGI, as we knew, was going to be incredible and beautiful, and it was everything that you expected and more. The close-up shots of Duratan, of Draka, of Blackhand, of all of these orcs, even Gul'dan, as ugly as he is, just beautiful, beautiful shots. You could tell that there was a lot of time and care and effort and tech put into having that done. As much as I feared that the CGI was going to take over this film, As other reviewers have noted, I really wasn't taken out of the film too often. There were a couple of times where maybe they were rushed, I don't know, and it was kind of in the background where some of the CGI got a little bit lost. But overall, it was beautifully done. The opening scene where you have Duratan and Draka, I mean, you felt like there were two real people there, and it was incredible to watch. The story itself, listen, you're in an impossible position when you have to try to take this very large story built out of a video game and condense that down into something that's more digestible. And I felt that was one of the other highs of this movie, was that this was something that anybody could gravitate towards. This is something that anybody could watch. You don't necessarily have to be a Warcraft player. Does it help? Of course it does. It was clearly a movie that was built for us. There were lots of little nods to all kinds of things. I mean, there were orcs in there. The warlords were in there. They weren't named. They weren't noted in any way. There wasn't somebody going, "Hey, Grom, what are you doing?" Nothing like that, but it was presented in a way that you knew, okay, orcs coming from a planet, something has happened, something bad. You know, they don't elaborate on what that is, but you knew that they were trying to get to this new place. They get to this new planet. There's a battle there. There's that, desire for peace or conquest or whatever. You know, it's a fairly classic story, but it was made digestible by any movie-going fan, I felt. And it really was, in my opinion, one of the highs of this movie. But probably the greatest thing of this movie, the best thing, the biggest high that I got out of this whole thing, was watching a griffin going absolutely berserk on an army full of orcs. Now, we've ridden these things for years. We've never seen what they can do. And let me tell you, the one lesson I learned out of Warcraft, the movie, was don't fuck with a griffin. They will tear your shit up. It was awesome. Now, going into the tone of the movie itself, it was definitely more brutal than I think what we are used to in the RTS or the World of Warcraft games. The use of Fel in particular, I felt, was translating very well through this movie in the sense that you always kind of got the sense that there was life stealing in a way going on, where the life essence of a being is being co-opted by warlocks and others into the use of something else, something usually nefarious. But the way that was done in this film, just sort of the malevolence of what that looked like, and actually seeing the soul being ripped out of something, the life essence being ripped out of a person or an orc or whatever it was kind of gross. Really cool, but definitely more brutal than I think what we are used to. There was a fair amount of humor, as we've come to know in the Warcraft universe. There's a lot of humor, a lot of jokes, inside jokes, little jokes, different things. And there was a lightness that did exist within that brutality. It probably could have used just a little bit more. But overall, I felt that the tone was very good in the sense that you knew that there were these foreboding forces colliding against each other, and that you needed this sense of weight to the events that were happening. And I felt that Duncan Jones did a very good job, and the actors did a very good job of portraying the weight of the events that were coming. As far as the visuals went, oh, what a gorgeous movie. They really could not have done a better job of translating the vibrancy of Warcraft, of Azeroth, Dalaran. That shot when they go into Dalaran, it really grabbed you. And going back to what I had said about how the CGI really didn't take you out of the movie, this is one of those examples where you know it's CGI, you know it's fake, but the way that it was presented, the way Stormwind was done, where they color coordinated all the various districts, it was a beautiful, beautiful movie. If there was one issue that I might have taken with that, was that in some sense, the Alliance characters in particular felt a little too clean, if that makes sense, in the way that King Lane's armor was perfectly polished. A lot of the Stormwind Guard, their armor was perfectly polished. There didn't seem to be a lot of weathering involved, and I know that they were coming out of a time of peace in this story, so that could explain that. But I kind of wanted something that felt just a touch grittier, in that sense that these are people who have actually gone out and done different things, and this was a little more battle-worn, I think, is what I was looking for. But overall, it was just a beautifully vibrant film that encapsulated think, the world that we've come to know very, very well. As far as the lore is concerned, there was a general following to the history of that first invasion, but there were some significant departures in terms of character interactions and certain deaths that did occur, how they occurred, at what point in time, and where. So some of those things are changed. Is it significant enough to detract from the story? I don't think so. But if you are a lore junkie, you're going to have to kind of let some of this stuff go and just take it as it comes. Understand that this is the setting up of a cinematic franchise. And that really is what this feels like. And I don't mean that as a detriment, but it does feel as though this is laying the groundwork for things that are to come. And in order to do that, you have to be able to shave down so many of the stories that we know in Warcraft to a more bite-sized component, I would say. Because that's really what you want for a mass audience. And if you are looking at maybe making a few more movies, a trilogy if you want, you can't have 10 different competing stories about how a certain person got to where they are. It's cut and clean, and that's how it is. So, in that sense, there were some significant changes, but I think it's all very livable. One of the very cool things that I thought that did occur several times throughout the movie was that you had major lore figures that appeared. As I mentioned earlier, you had several of the warlords appear. I'm thinking to myself, I'm seeing them, I'm going, God, that guy looks familiar. Oh, it's Grom. Or, who is that guy? That's Kargath. That looks like Kargath. There's a lot of that going on where, again, characters aren't named. So if you see somebody on screen, if you see a character and you think, oh, shit, that looks like so-and-so, it probably was. They just may not have been referenced by name. And again, I think that that's a throw to us. And potentially that gives them outs later on in other movies to say, well, so-and-so was there, or this person was there, whatever it is. And you can see them physically represented on the screen, which I thought was very cool. Also, there is a character that is introduced that will also be introduced in Legion. Apparently this is a very important character. It's a nice cameo that they have in there. Because I'm watching it going, well, who is this? I have no idea who this character is. Really cool, but I don't know who this is. Turns out this is a tie that they were able to bring in directly from Legion to set up one of the artifact quests, I believe for mages. Frost mages, to be specific. And that alone, I thought, was pretty neat. As for the actors themselves, the orcs were amazing. All of the actors that came in and had to do the motion capture, I think that motion capture has got to be one of the most awkward things that an actor can do, where if you're lucky enough, you're engaging with your environment because they've built sets, but you're still having to wear a mocap suit, or you've got the little balls on you, or there's dots on your face, or whatever the thing is, and you're really having to stretch your artistic ability. And maybe that's what draws a better performance out of the actors, because the orcs were, in my opinion, the strongest actors in the movie. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Lothar. I love Travis Fimmel. I love Dominic Cooper. These are all great actors. The actor who played Khadgar was very good. Ben Foster as Medivh was Ben Foster. But the orcs really brought it. With the strength of the acting combined with the CGI, they definitely were the strongest presence for me in the film. But I did love Lothar. It was King Ragnar in an Alliance uniform in many ways. It was pretty funny. But the orcs were definitely the highlight of this movie for me. As far as the script goes, it's impossible to balance the needs of the players versus the needs of the general public. It's hard to take so many stories, in my opinion, and streamline them down into one succinct story. And if anything, this is where I feel that we got into a little bit of some of the lows of this film. Coincidentally enough, they were the same issues that I had when I went and saw Batman vs. Superman, which is the pacing. It felt a little too rushed. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time doing this sort of exposition on where everybody's from and who everybody is. And this movie did require you to either just kind of let that go, because you're basically jumping right into the middle of everything. So you either are coming with foreknowledge or you just kind of have to accept it as it comes. But it felt like the pacing was just a little too quick. It needed to breathe just a little bit more, maybe letting some of the editing go just a little bit, because at times I couldn't quite tell why certain characters were going certain places, or suddenly we're going from one scene to the next, and the transition didn't feel as natural as perhaps it could have been. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you are condensing such a large volume of material down into 2 hours. And that is an incredibly difficult challenge. But if anything, my biggest complaint, which I think may also be the highest compliment that I can pay to Duncan Jones, I wanted more. And as I was driving home from seeing the movie, there was this feeling that I just couldn't quite figure out. And as I rolled it over in my mind, I realized that what I wanted was more. I wanted to see more of this universe. I wanted more of Ironforge. I wanted more of Stormwind. I wanted to see more of what the orcs were doing. I wanted to see more of the other races of Azeroth. I wanted to see the streets of Dalaran. What's going on in there? There was just, because they had to keep it so tight, to keep that story moving. And that's what I mean by letting it breathe more. I wanted to see them walking the streets of Stormwind. I wanted to see more of the interior of Ironforge. We saw a little bit, I think, near the Great Forge, and the exterior shot was just spot on, beautiful, amazing. And it was one of the first things you see in the movie, and I think I even said aloud something like, holy shit, because it was just that awesome to see. But I wanted more of it, and I really hope that even though it doesn't seem to be performing very well in the United States, that the overseas money, which we're looking at a little more than $150 million as I record this, I hope it convinces Legendary and the rest of the filmmakers that this has the juice to keep going. Because I want to see more of this world. I know it's something that we love, that we engage in all the time, and we know so much about. But to see it cinematically, there's just a whole life there that is waiting to be let out. And I hope that they give it the chance that it deserves to really breathe. This overall was an amazing movie that treated our beloved game with respect. It clearly had a lot of heart behind it. This movie is not getting a lot of positive reviews from the general public. The complaints that they have about the story itself, I can understand because it is a lot to catch up to in a very short period of time. I think the people that are going really harsh are probably just being dickbags because that's what they want to do, and then fine, so be it. But this was a very well-done movie, in my opinion, as even just a sci-fi fantasy movie. I think that you have interesting characters. You have a story that isn't the most original, perhaps, but it is something that people can find relatable. Duncan Jones has done us a great service with the movie that he has given us and to the world. So, in the end, my rating for this movie, I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5 rampaging griffins. I encourage all of you to go out and see this. Go see it twice. Go see it 3 times. Go see it in IMAX. Go see it in 3D. Go see it in 3D IMAX. Do whatever you can to get your eyeballs on this thing, because it is the one time that we are front and center in the cinematic universe that exists out there in Hollywood and beyond. It's a hell of a time to be in the world of Warcraft and in the Warcraft universe, and I encourage all of you to jump on board, take a peek at this thing, because I sure love this movie. I can't wait to see it again. And I look forward to any future installment that may come. So with that, I say get your butts in those seats. Go see this movie as soon as you can. And I will see you on the next go-around of Unshackled Fury. And until then, strength and honor to you all.